So this presentation is on Iris Marion Young. In our group is myself, Alexis, Rihanna, and also Florence. So Iris Marion Young was born on January 2nd, 1949 in the United States. She studied at the University of Pennsylvania where she received her PhD in philosophy. Young went on to becoming a professor at the University of Pittsburgh where she taught political theory. She was also involved in gender studies and human rights, as she had a very stern standpoint on what she thought human rights should be, and she was also a feminist. Young was also an author. She created a very interesting book titled Throwing Like a Girl, which is the piece we are going to focus on in our presentation. Throwing Like a Girl focuses on the experience a female has just because of the way the female body is structured, such as a female having curves that the other does not have, the other being a male figure. Young speaks about the ways a male objectifies a woman's body, mostly because a male has a different body shape and cannot relate to or understand what it feels like to be a woman who has breasts, thick thighs, and bottoms, and just to have a woman's body. So, in her book, Young speaks a lot about breasts and how it's a symbol of feminine sexuality. One of the quotes from the book is, "We experience our objectification as a function of the look of the other, the male gaze that judges and dominates from afar." So, pretty much, breasts have been made an important part of a woman's self image because of the way in which men look at a woman's breasts to judge her as attractive or unattractive. Because of the way that men are so opinionated about how a woman should look um, and what their body should look like, they somehow dictate how a woman's cleavage should look, and by doing so, they set the tone for how a woman will feel about her breasts. If the other, being the male figure, approves of a woman's breast size, then a woman will tend to have a high self image. After all, she does have basically what the other considers desirable. But on the other hand, if a woman does not measure up to what the other considers desirable, then that woman will be plagued with a negative self image. The dominant culture objectification of breasts has such a powerful influence on what women should look like. Um, the other is a powerful voice that can make even a intelligent woman succumb to unrealistic standards that is created by this other figure. Which leads us into our next slide. Um, Pretty much in today's culture, men are a very dominant in setting the standard for what a woman should look like. Instead of valuing a woman as a human being, men sometimes look at women as objects, things that can be made to appear in whatever way they find most attractive. One of the quotes that Young used in her book, it is, "The fetish breasts are valued objects, things. They must be solid." So pretty much what she's saying is men, the other subject, which is men, have created an image for what breasts should look like. They basically look at them as objects, things. They have to be solid. But in reality, how many women do you know that have solid breasts? It's just unrealistic. So men have been dominant in creating this standard, yet this standard is contradictory to what the reality of it is. Because in reality, women do not have breasts that are solid. So in the reading, Young says, "There is one perfect shape and proportion for breast, round, sitting high on the chest, large but not bulbous, with the look of firmness." So, as I just said, women's breasts are not naturally round and high and sitting on the chest, and large but not bulbous with a firm look. Um, but yet, this is the norm that has been created for what breasts should be, which is unfair to women because naturally women are not made that way. So if you look at the images on the slide, it shows what people in society would think is a sexy woman. Um, Women who have perfect cleavage, their breasts are sitting perfectly on their chest, and they're large but not sloppy, they're firm. They basically look perfect, but in reality, women are not like that. So why is it that the other has created this image to be the norm when women are not this way normally? So now women are trying to fulfill this image, and it's unfair to them because they have to reevaluate themselves and look at themselves as being made the wrong way because of what the norm of breasts are, instead of men embracing women for what they naturally are. So another topic that Young touches on in her book Throwing Like a Girl is metaphysics. Um, Metaphysics is a branch of philosophy that is concerned with things that are abstract. An idea, which is something that is abstract, basically the idea of what a woman's breast should look like. Um, Basically, the idea that has been created has been forced upon women, which has caused women to reevaluate their bodies. The other has created such an unrealistic idea for what breasts should be, such as firm, perky, round, and not floppy, that culture has developed an image for women, for what women should look like, that realistically women cannot naturally live up to. So, one of the quotes that Young says is, "The point is that a metaphysics of self identical objects, woman has been implicated because culture has projected onto us an identification of the body." So basically, this idea of what the body should look like has been implicated and forced upon to women. So women are basically forced into playing that position. They're forced into playing the role of what society deems them to be. Women are forced to live up to the image that is created for breasts, which is part of the reason why women wear bras, so that they can use the bra to make their breasts look the way that they think others would find them attractive. Because of this idea of what breasts should look like that has been created, women a lot of times are insecure about their breasts. And one of the places that they don't feel insecure about them would be sometimes in a lesbian relationship, which moves us into our next slide. Um, in a gay and lesbian relationship, um, basically what Young says is that gay men take interest in each other's breasts. They want to explore their breasts. And in a lesbian relationship, instead of the partner judging the woman's breasts or looking at them as unattractive because they are floppy or whatever the case may be, they embrace the breasts. They want to touch them and feel them. What Young says exactly in the reading is, gay men often explore the erotic possibilities of one another's breasts, and lesbians often derive a particular pleasure from the mutual touching of breasts. So, pretty much, the idea that we got from what Young is saying is that in a gay or lesbian relationship, usually the partners are not judged by one another. They are embraced for what they are. In a lesbian relationship, instead of your partner looking at your breasts and saying they're not firm enough, they're not perky enough, they're not high enough on your chest, they embrace them for what they naturally are, and they take pleasure in touching them. Another thing that women can use to feel less insecure about their breasts is a bra. In today's culture, basically every woman who has breasts wears a bra, um, which is also a little bit odd because the bra also contributes to women objectifying themselves, because it is used to help women create the image of their breasts that they think will be most attractive or appealing. With a bra on, breasts can appear to lay high on the chest with a round, firm shape, but without the bra, breasts usually fall back into their natural position, which is not what culture deems to be attractive on a woman. So, although women embrace bras, it's also contradictory because they use these bras to fulfill the false image that the other has created for what bras should be, instead of wearing their breasts naturally and embracing what their breasts naturally look like. They are using the bra to create an image for them that is somewhat deceitful, but they do it because they want to live up to the image that the other has created for them. Another topic that Young speaks about in her book is motherhood and sexuality, which is another experience that women go through that the other cannot relate to. Um, Motherhood should be a sacred and exciting time for women, but sometimes the other turns it into something that is sexual. Um, for example, in our society, you never see mothers breastfeeding their child in public because somehow the other has made it so that breastfeeding in public is something that is distasteful. It's not attractive to see a woman breastfeeding in public. Although breastfeeding is something that is basically natural, you're feeding your child natural nutrients from your body, which in other cultures is something that is embraced. But in this culture, the other, which is the male, has made it so that breastfeeding somehow takes away from a woman's sexuality, which is basically ridiculous because I would think that men would embrace and love the fact that women breastfeed and that they want to, you know, give their child natural nutrients. One thing that Marion says in her writing is about motherhood is to be purity and goodness itself, the origin of life, the source to which the living man owes his substance. This is an awesome power. So if you think about it, motherhood should be something that the man embraces because motherhood, after all, is what has brought all of these other people, all of these other men into this world. So something such as breastfeeding should be something that men value and admire instead of frown upon. Motherhood should be something that adds to a woman's sexuality instead of taking away from it. Sometimes with motherhood, the other subject, the male, may become a little bit jealous of the attention that the child receives from the mother. Um, Basically, mother love and the love for her child represent other perfection of love. Eroticism entirely sublimated, which is what Young says in her reading. Basically, women give all their attention to their children, and then the husband may feel like they lose her attention or her attachment to them because they become attached to the child, which is why sometimes motherhood and the loss of sexuality can be connected to each other. But the reality of it is that motherhood and sexuality should be embraced as one instead of the male comparing them. So ideally, the mother or the woman is a giver. So if you think about it, a lot of the times the other, the male, is taking away from woman's experiences. They take away from the woman's experience as a mother, and they somewhat do take away from their experience, their sexual experiences, because they have an image that they want the woman to live up to. So, one thing that Young says in her reading is crashing the border means affirming that women, all women, can have it all. So, basically, what she's saying is that the line separating motherhood and sexuality has to diminish because women should be able to have it all. They should be able to embrace their sexuality as well as their motherhood without having to deal with the judgment of the other figure. Another way that this affects them is if they have cancer or something and they have no choice but to get their breast removed, they then suffer emotionally because without breasts, they won't be able to fulfill this image that the other has set for them, which is unfortunate and unfair to us women.